DreAllDay.com.
Dre Baldwin, DreAllDay.com. I saw this article this morning. I went on ESPN. This is the Russell Westbrook thing. Something that he said. And it's not really about Russell Westbrook at all. It's really just kind of about the culture and the energy and the current undercurrent of what's going on in the athletic world is really what I want to talk about here. So for those of you who don't know, Russell Westbrook, I don't know if it was, I think it was after a game. The Lakers had played against the San Antonio Spurs. I think it was that game. LeBron didn't play. And Russell was basically the best player the Lakers had available, which is, at this point, not good news for most basketball teams. Let's just be honest. I like Russell Westbrook. I like his game. He has a lot of great accomplishments, of course, but that's not good news for a team these days if Russell Westbrook's the best available player you got. And the Lakers, I was looking at the box score from the game. They lost to the Spurs. And the Spurs ain't no juggernaut. The Spurs are not terrible. It's not a juggernaut. The Lakers lost to them. And I'm looking at the box score, and I'm looking at the Lakers roster. I'm like, damn, that's their team? I'm like, these guys suck. So the Lakers are in trouble. And I think we already knew that. That's not news to any of you. But anyway, after the game, Russell got asked a question about something. I don't know what the question was. And he started going, he talked, it was only like a 2-minute clip. He was basically saying that he doesn't like people calling, instead of calling him Westbrook, they're calling him WestBrick, which is just a play on, if you know basketball, you know, it's a play on, a euphemism. A brick is when you shoot the ball and everybody knows it's not going in, doesn't even come close to going in, that's called a brick. So since his name is Westbrook, call him WestBrick. Now, he said, and he's saying that it's one thing if you're talking trash about me or criticizing my game, I can take the criticism, but I don't like people, calling my family name, and it's making my wife feel bad, my kids feel bad, because people are saying WestBrick instead of Westbrook. And he says from now on, he's going to nip that in the bud. And that was his words, not mine. What he's going to do anytime he hears somebody calling him out of his family name and saying WestBrick instead of Westbrook. So a few things that I want to say about this piece right here. And apparently during the game, somebody had said WestBrick, and he said, don't disrespect my name to the fan or something like that. A few things I want to point out. Number one, when it comes to the fans, we've seen this a few times over the last year, is that players in the game who are on the court, and the NBA players, somehow, some way get into some kind of back and forth with a fan. And now this is a new thing. This is a new wave that very rarely happened before, let's say over the last 2 or 3 years. Before that, this was never happening. But all of a sudden it's happening a lot, that a player doesn't like something that a fan says, tells the referees or the officials or the security or whatever, and then security is throwing fans out of the game. And these are fans in the high price seats. Not like it's a fan all the way up at the top, because you can't hear them in the $5 seats. It's the fans down in the $1,000 seats, and the players are getting these fans thrown out of the arena for saying something that they don't like. LeBron's done it a couple of times. It was one with Rajon Rondo maybe a year or so ago when he was playing for the Lakers. He stuck his finger in the fan's face like this. The fan knocked his hand away, and they kicked the fan out of the arena. I'm like, no, that's crazy. I hope that fan had a lawyer, because he should have sued the Lakers for that one. Like, you can't put your hand in another man's face and then get them thrown out for hitting your hand out of it. Anyway, that happened. Now, Russell Westbrook, he's had a situation where it was allegedly in Utah, somebody had said something to him. He had a situation, I think it was in Philly, somebody had said something, he got somebody thrown out. Now, I'm not saying that the fans are completely innocent, but I'm saying that this has happened way more over the last couple of years than it was ever happening before. Or maybe we just didn't know about it because we didn't have this 24-hour news cycle of everybody posting everything and everybody being a news reporter. But this has become a much more prevalent thing, and the interesting thing about it is the same people over and over again who seem to be having problems with the fans. I haven't heard, you think about all the players in the NBA who play, there's only a few of them who keep pointing out, well, the fans are doing this and the fan is saying this. It's been LeBron, it's been Russell Westbrook. They're the only ones who had it happen more than once. And Rondo, I think that was the only time with Rondo. But an interesting thing also, there was all players who played for the Lakers. Who knows what that's about? But it was LeBron more than once. It's been Russell Westbrook more than once. And I understand LeBron, because LeBron is the biggest name. He's the most recognizable person, and he's the biggest target. So I understand that people might be talking crazy to him. Maybe people are saying crazy stuff to him. Who knows what these people are actually saying? I wasn't at any of these games when these things have happened. But Russell Westbrook, he just explained and articulated what's being said to him, and he's saying, I'm gonna nip it in the bud. People are disrespecting my name and disrespecting my family. And I want y'all to notice this language that Russell Westbrook is using here, because what it appears like he's doing, this is just my theory, and I hope that I'm wrong about this, but my theory is he's planting the seeds to let the NBA know and the officials in the game and the security at the arenas know that calling me WestBrick is no longer just trash talk. Now it's someone disrespecting my name, disrespecting my family. You're hurting my wife. You're hurting my kids. Therefore, it becomes ground for if you say the word WestBrick, then that means you can be removed from the game. You can have your tickets revoked. You can be kicked out of your seats because you said something that's hurting me and it's hurting my family and it's harming my kids. I think this sounds like Russell Westbrook is planting the seeds for that. And I'm not a fan of that. I'm 100% not a fan of that. And here's why. And we can use Russell Westbrook as an example for this because Russell Westbrook has this reputation based on his playing style of being a player who plays hard every game, which he does, a player who is he appears to be a very mentally tough player. I believe that he is. I don't know Russell, never played with him, but I believe that he is a mentally tough type of individual. He's the type of person who can accept criticism, at least he claims that he can, but now he's trying to plant this seed of, well, you're harming me, you're hurting me in some way that's outside of the bounds of trash talk. So now this is not allowed anymore to call me Westbrook. When, listen, there are a bunch of players in the league who got some kind of derisive nickname that gets used against them if they're not playing good. And for him to kind of, it seems like, again, I could be completely wrong about this. Maybe he was just frustrated in the moment. Maybe he's just saying it. Maybe this will go in one ear and out the other of everybody out there. But I want you to pay attention to this and take note of this for the rest of this season and going into next season with someone calling him Westbrook, because somebody's going to do it. And the fans know it now, and he's going to go on a road game, and all the fans are going to call him Westbrook. What are they going to do? Clear the arena and say, well, nobody's allowed. You say Westbrook, we're going to call a technical foul on the home team. What are they going to do in this situation if a bunch of people start saying it? They're going to kick everybody out for saying a word that he is claiming is harmful to him and harmful to his family. His family ain't playing in the game. His kids are not playing in the game. It's you, Russell Westbrook, who's playing in the game. So that's one thing that I just want y'all to keep an eye out for moving forward, because I think he's planting the seed for that, and other players are going, and if it works, other players are going to follow suit. Other players are going to follow up, and they're going to do the same thing. And this is leading to my next point. I heard Michael Rappaport say this a few years ago. This is what he called it. He called it this. I'll give it a different name. He said it's called the skinny genification of the NBA. And I like that when I first heard him say it. And it's these NBA players, these masculine men who are the epitome of athleticism. They're big, strong, fast guys who make money with their bodies, and they're mentally tough, they're physically strong, they can do all these great things, they make all this money playing the sport. And you would think that these guys are the epitome of masculinity in the way that they perform, and they make money based on their physical abilities to do things. But we're getting so much, especially with the NBA, so much feminine energy from these players that I believe they're losing some of their fan base because of this. Not the hardcore fans, not people like me and you who watch basketball no matter what, but the casual fans. I think they're losing some of them because the casual fan is expecting they're expecting something when they know what they're supposed to be watching. And this masculine energy is very gradually becoming more and more feminine. We got it in the summer of 2020 when everyone wanted to virtue signal and show how woke they were in the summer of 2020. Now the players, none of them pushing back against any of these mandates, or them all having to wear masks on the bench, which makes no sense. None of them said a word about it. Kyrie Irving getting banned from playing on his own team. Nobody on his own team even spoke up to defend him when that happened. Then they just brought him back, even though the situation hadn't changed at all. Only thing that happened is they needed players. So now all of a sudden it's okay for him to play, but it was a distraction when they had players. Makes no sense. Nobody stepped up to defend him. And I'm wondering, where's the masculinity at? Where's the masculine energy at? And Russell Westbrook is a guy that I would expect. You would think from the way he presents himself and the way that he plays that you would get a lot of masculine energy from this kind of guy. But when you listen to him talk and you hear the things that he's saying, there's a lot of femininity. There's a lot of feminine energy coming from Russell. And when I say feminine energy, I want to make sure y'all understand me. And I talked about this on my podcast in full context for those who haven't heard it. Feminine energy is not necessarily bad coming from a man, because all men and women have both masculine and feminine energy within them. But from a man, you expect a little bit more masculinity. From a woman, a little bit more femininity, at least if they're heterosexual men and women. But Russell Westbrook, at the same time, this is a guy who posted pictures with himself wearing a dress and all of these other things. So that's a whole other conversation. But now that I'm thinking about it, we also got to take that into consideration. And going to just the basketball side of this thing, Russell Westbrook is not having a good season playing for the LA Lakers. He apparently he at least in some part, in whole or in part, okayed this trade to get traded to the LA Lakers because he's from LA, playing for his hometown team, and they figured they were putting together this star team. They got all these guys who are going to be in the Hall of Fame: LeBron, Anthony Davis, Dwight Howard, Carmelo Anthony, Russell Westbrook, and many of them are on the wrong side of their primes right now. Anthony Davis probably got most in his prime, but he can't stay healthy. He's not playing. Charles Barkley called him Anthony Street Clothes Davis. So is Anthony Davis going to come out and say, well, it's disrespecting my family and my legacy to call me Street Clothes, and now nobody can say that anymore, and now they're going to get kicked out the game, and eventually it gets to the point that nobody can say anything to a player that is derisive of the player. I didn't like what that guy said. Kick him out of the game. Now everybody, you can only clap politely like tennis. What are we doing here? Where is this going? And I really don't like it coming from a guy who is looked at as a leader. This is a guy, Russell Westbrook's a guy who's won an MVP award. He's averaged a triple-double, 4 or 5 years in a row, whatever he did. He's going to be in the Hall of Fame. He's one of the guys that's looked at as, this is a guy you have to mention when you talk about the era of basketball that he's played in. And this is the precedent that we're getting from him, this feminine energy about, well, you can't, call me WestBrick even though I'm bricking, even though I'm turning the ball over, even though I'm not really helping my team win. When he's playing in the game, he's making his teams worse. All right, that's happening. That's a real thing, Russell Westbrook. That's not, the fans didn't make that up. And the first person I heard saying Westbrook was Skip Bayless on TV, and that was like 10 years ago. So you can't kick Skip Bayless out the game. So now you're gonna go after the fan and say they're disrespecting your name, and then using that word disrespect as eventually going to become harm. Maybe it'll become verbal violence and all of this feminine shit where I understand it when I hear it from a woman, but I don't want to hear this from a man. I don't want to hear this from a man that I'm expecting masculine energy from, especially a professional athlete who, again, traditionally we expect them to kind of set a standard for masculinity and the way that men represent themselves because of the nature of their work. I'm not saying that he's wrong for it. I'm just saying I don't like this precedent being set. But I want to know what you all think. And the other thing is, just on the basketball side, Russell, you ain't performing. If Russell Westbrook was performing, then nobody could call him WestBrick. And if he was performing and somebody did call him WestBrick, he could laugh. It's kind of like if Allen Iverson's playing and somebody say, Iverson, you're a bum. But he's in the middle of scoring 35 points and his team is winning, he would go get that guy and laugh. Like, what are you talking about? I'm a bum. You see the scoreboard or you see the stat sheet? What are you talking about? You can just laugh at that when somebody says that you're not good, or they say something that alludes to you not being good, but you're actually doing well and your team's winning, then there's no problem. If Russell Westbrook was making shots and helping his team win and the Lakers were winning, then somebody calling him Westbrook would be a joke. He wouldn't even notice it because I'm dominating the game. And nobody would even want to say it because what attention are you going to get from calling somebody a bum when they're actually playing amazingly? None. All right, nobody's saying anything about LeBron. Nobody's calling him a bum or anything like that because LeBron's having a great season. The Lakers suck, but he's having a great season personally, so he ain't got that problem. Why has Russell Westbrook had this problem? It's because of his performance. So if we really break it down to the bare bones of what is really going on, if I'm talking to Russell Westbrook, I'm saying, sir, you ain't performing. Nobody was calling you WestBrick when you were averaging a triple-double 4 years in a row and winning MVP. It didn't matter what the fans were saying. He was probably getting more attention from fans then than he's getting now, but it's just that he's playing bad now and he's getting negative attention. And back then when he was averaging a triple-double and everybody was so excited for him, he was getting 20, 20, and 20 for Nipsey Hussle. When Nipsey died, he wasn't worried about the fans what I had to say that day because he was killing. He was doing great and he was helping his team. Now he's not doing that. Now is a problem what the fans are saying. That is all based on his performance. If he was performing, we wouldn't have had this problem. I wouldn't be making this video. So Russell, you would just step your game up and perform, then this whole problem is solved. It's not even a problem. The only problem here is you're not performing and you came here. Russell Westbrook, a lot of people don't know this, he makes more money than LeBron James and Anthony Davis. His salary is higher than both of those guys. Then there's an expectation that comes with taking that check. And you ain't delivering on that expectation. That's not on the fans, that's on you. So that's how I see it. That's how I feel about it. And hopefully, again, we get out of this feminine energy wave we're getting from men these days. I think it's going to get worse based on the kind of guys we got on the front lines right now in certain spaces. But I'm going to do my part. All right, and talk on it, at least, if nothing else. So with all that said, y'all tell me what y'all think. All right, are we going too far with this? Is this too much feminine energy coming from these cats? And where are we going next? Oh yeah, one more thing. You want to get my daily motivation text, just hit me at my text number. It's down below, but the number is 305-384-6894. I send it out every day for free to everyone who's in my text community. And if you're ready to go to another level with me on the business side and personal development side, that's my Bulletproof Mastermind, which you can get on a live training call with me every single week. Bring your questions, bring your challenges. We have open discussion, and I do a training every week. That's at workonyourgameuniversity.com. Work on your game. Dre, oh no, yeah, that link's down below too. Work on your game. Dre, all